All right, welcome back into the Bettor Half Hour, my favorite segment where we bring you veterans in the sports betting space. You've seen her on this show. You've seen her on the Betting Exchange, known as Minty Mondays around these parts. You've seen her all over Yahoo Sports as well. Minty, back on the program. Great to be with you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me every Monday, Alex. It's an honor.
Likewise. All right, Minty Mondays. Let's kick it off with your biggest win and biggest loss of this now underdogs coming back to take all of our money weekend.
Yeah, so a big win and one I was actually really sweating hard for was the Cowboys, -11. I try very hard to stay away from double-digit favorites as my best bet, and I also try to stay away from the Cowboys because I don't personally like them, but I cannot deny that they are covering machines this season, and the Giants, sorry, New York, the stars just didn't align for them yesterday. And my biggest loss and biggest surprise, honestly, was the Bucs, -11.5.
Yeah, everyone got crushed on that except for a couple very sharp people that are convinced that Brady still can't beat the Saints in the regular season. Okay, I know you're not super into live betting, but I saw you tweet it out. I got to give you props. Steelers down 10.5. You nibbled on them at +6.5. They were not moving the ball. I got to ask you, in a pick'em game, what made you fire on that number halfway through?
This was a matchup I absolutely loved, but pregame I couldn't decide who I wanted to bet on. I had arguments for both sides, and I genuinely believed both could win and cover. I had a stronger lean to the Steelers, but pregame pick'em held no value to me, so I knew the Titans would start hot as Pittsburgh is a second-half team. You can't count out Mike Tomlin, no matter how bad Big Ben looks this season, so I fired on +6.5 as it held a lot of value. I should have gotten them on the money line as well because that would have been a nice payout, but I'm happy with Steelers +6.5.
And that's 4 straight for the Steelers over the Titans, and now 5-1 against the spread after a loss. Good on you. Okay, let's talk about this Bills game. I took it on the show at -10.5. It closed around 14.5. Then we find out about an hour or so before kickoff that their kicker is not playing for Carolina. Matt Rule's having open kicker tryouts. When you see that happening, do you fire immediately or do you go the exact opposite, and is it a stay-away game for you?
First of all, it should be like in the NHL when you just like grab someone in emergency, you know, remember like the emergency goalie situation? I think that should have happened. It would have been a great story, but it wouldn't necessarily move me off betting on them. I liked them catching double digits due to Buffalo's current form. Glad I saved my money and glad I stayed away, but like we always say, injuries are factored into the line, and this was just a game where Buffalo played better against a really inconsistent Panthers team. It was just a bad one to bet on overall.
I agree. Good bounce back spot for the Bills, but double-digit spread, tough. All right, so there was some line movement in a couple of games in a big way. Did you benefit at all from firing earlier in the week, maybe let's say on the Packers over the Ravens, or did you get burned on the other side and hoping you were not on one that you ended up firing on?
Unfortunately, I don't think I did. As valuable as like closing line value is, it's so hard to accurately grab the best number this season due to all the last minute roster changes. I could have fired on Dallas at -10 earlier in the week, but I was too scared someone key would be ruled out for the Cowboys. Got them at -11, and even though they won by 15, you never really want to bet on a favorite at more than a point or more than what you saw in the beginning of the week. So to answer your question, no, I didn't.
And looking at just how the slate went this weekend, is there a team you are now off or a team that you're now on? You know, maybe the Lions beating the Cardinals makes you look a little bit at Arizona in a different way, or maybe even the Ravens now, your Bengals back in the AFC North race. Anybody you're on or off?
Yeah, so last year I pushed back on Tom Brady a lot, but then the narrative of don't bet against Brady came into play this season. I bet on Brady a lot this season. I think I got burned more than I didn't. So I'm laying off the Bucs. I see them as double-digit favorites next week against Carolina, and I'm not buying it. So I'm definitely off the Bucs as double-digit favorites no matter what now.
I want to go back to that Packers game. I find it interesting. The line was at 5.5. They don't announce that Lamar's out until an hour or two before game time, and then the line immediately moves to 9.5. A big-time backdoor cover for the Ravens, but when you see that and being in Vegas, is that something you quickly move on? What was your professional point of view on that line particularly?
Oh, we knew that the Ravens would be without literally everybody. So the public perception is to hammer the Packers with Aaron Rodgers still mostly healthy and his main targets still in. Anytime you pass that key number of 7 for a favorite, you have to think long and hard about if you trust the favorite to cover by over a score. And I know it wasn't hard to bet against the Ravens in this spot, but they're used to losing players. They started the season banged up, and the line moved was warranted because Lamar was ruled out, but it was just a little too excessive. So this one is one that I automatically stayed off. Like -5.5 all the way up to -9, 9.5 for the Packers was too much.
Yeah, both covers either way for the Ravens at home. Harbaugh not helping anybody. All right, let's talk about Monday Night Football. We got the Bears hosting the Vikings. They're actually 16-4 in their last 20 against the Vikings and dominant in their last 6, 5-1. Do you factor that in at all to tonight? I know it's a rookie quarterback, different teams, new year, but when you see that kind of head-to-head domination, does it affect your way of looking at it tonight in about a 6.5 point spread?
Heck yeah. I mean, the Bears, like you mentioned, are what, 5-1 against the Vikings. They're 6-2 against the spread versus Minnesota, their last 8 meetings. Divisional games tend to be close, and people are riding high with how good the Vikings have looked lately. But they forget that Kirk Cousins is pretty bad in primetime games. So I like the Bears catching points tonight and possibly upsetting the Vikings.
All right, I like that. Let's get you out of here with this. We got 2 games tomorrow. This is airing during your Raiders. I know your hometown, dancing against the Browns in Cleveland. So tomorrow, we got the Washington football team catching some points in Philly. We got the Hawks headed to LA to take on the Rams. You have a best bet for me and us before we get you out of here?
Ooh, between those 2 matchups, I think I like the Seahawks catching 6.5 points, I think. I like the divisional dogs over the home favorites, and I love betting on Seattle as underdogs. Although they might be without Tyler Lockett, which would be a very big hit, I think they can come close to the Rams here.
I love it. All right, Minty, thank you for joining me as always. Hope you got better. We certainly did. Don't go anywhere. When I return, I'm breaking down what happened yesterday in the NFL. Good beats, bad beats. We're going all in here on the Bettor